All right, welcome to this week's Health and Nutrition 101. You get me, Mama G. We're going to chat. I don't think we need any screens for what I'm going to talk about today. We're just going to have a discussion. And if you have any comments, you can put those in the little chat bar on the right. But I'm going to be answering a lot of the questions that we've heard from clients this week. And hopefully I'll be answering yours. So couple things have come up. I shared this week or today a little screenshot from somebody that I follow on Instagram who's a health coach. And I think it's really relevant to talk to you about what your nutrition and fitness approach is and how logical, practical, and potentially evidence and science-based it is. There's lots of crazy stuff all over the internet, and it kind of makes me crazy. Sometimes it makes me laugh. Most of the time it makes me really sad, and sometimes it makes me super angry because I know that people are influencing individuals like you and I to do things that are potentially harmful and that drive disordered eating and that do not promote health. And with the Mama G's lifestyle, we are all about the end goal of living a long, healthy, independent life and being logical and practical with wholesome, real food that is both nutritious and delicious, all right? And not killing yourself with the exercise, but incorporating some exercise into your life. So knowing your expert is critical, and understanding what their education is, what their experience is, and really listening to what they say and going into your intuition, your gut, and determining if it sounds logical should be right. Somebody had posted today about, if you really kind of screwed up your weekend, well, today is the chance to kind of restart. And it was, fasted cardio, which means that you don't eat when you get up in the morning. You go into your exercise with no food. Well, in the Mama G lifestyle, that's not really our philosophy. Talked about some kind of shake with fake fiber and fake sugar and fake protein powder. Well, not fake protein powder, real fake food. Talked about maybe having a lunch or a dinner, late lunch, early dinner, with no parameters on what that would look like. And I don't know what else it says. Like what I know is that there was no real food. There was no vegetables. There was no fruit. There was no whole grains. It was all stuff that was processed in packages, made in factories. And it made me really sad to think that this health coach is promoting that kind of lifestyle, because what is that driving? It's driving, this philosophy that skinny weight is overlying in your health, and it's not. Your scale will fall into the role of how you're eating. And if you're choosing wholesome foods, then the scale is going to reflect a more wholesome individual, whether it means you need to put on weight or lose body fat or remain at homeostasis. So be really careful. I guess I'm preaching to the choir. You guys are here for a reason. So really understand who your expert is, and if they're promoting a healthy, wholesome lifestyle approach. Step one. I think it's really relevant to talk about practicing what you preach. I know in my world of nutrition that I have a lot of colleagues who I have a lot of respect for. But I guess this will be time to toot my own horn here. But I will tell you that most of them struggle with their weight. Most of them are constantly saying, well, I need to lose 10 pounds or 15 pounds. I really need to get back to it. When I see them building recipes or sharing recipes for their clients, if it's something that looks good to me, normally I'll look at it and then look at the nutrition composition of it. And I'm going, oh my gosh, there's like no protein here. Oh my goodness, there's hardly any vegetables here. Oh my goodness, they forgot about those starches and grains that are so important to a wholesome diet. And though they are preaching, that their program, will help you meet your goal, stabilize your weight, promote nutrition, what they're showing and what they're experiencing with their own bodies is not that. And so, like, we need a lifestyle approach that's going to be sustainable. It's the best kind of sustainable, where you can actually do it forever, that you enjoy every morsel you put in your mouth, that you build healthy habits, that you role model these habits. So I have a huge issue with, dietitians and nutritionists and fitness professionals who are not able to maintain their own homeostasis, and control within their health what they can. I say control within their health, which what they can, because lots of stuff is going to show up that we have nothing to counter it with, but we can do the best we can, by, taking care of ourselves and leading a wholesome life and keeping our fingers crossed and saying our prayers that, we can get out of this thing unscathed. But unfortunately, life is rough. So that leads me into talking about addiction. I've had an addiction conversation of late with a client who is definitely a admitted sugar addict. And this individual is a male and does really good when he's on plan and really enjoys the food. And our men drop weight like crazy. It's a little frustrating for us women, but men don't really spend a lot of time on diets and yo-yoing and different things that really screw up your metabolism and cause all kinds of harm to your body. So when they decide that they want to get healthy, and all of a sudden we get them to consider their food and monitor their calories a little bit and add some exercise, like, they are so successful, until they're not following the plan. And then they begin the yo-yo process. So I don't know if it's better just to not have them yo-yo or to have them dip in and experience what it's like to eat really wholesome, beautiful food. But the key is getting them to buy in. And so this particular client had had some success last year with Mama G's, did everything that they had set out for. Number one, their doctor had said to them they needed to change their lifestyle. So this person had already been exercising, and then they added Mama G's kind of food approach to it, and got to their goal weight in about 90 days. Again, men are so lucky with their high metabolisms. And changed all the parameters on his blood work. So went from somebody who was pre-diabetic, high cholesterol, really unhealthy numbers, pre-diabetic, to none of those things. And it was awesome. And then, what happens is people kind of give themselves some leeway. Do you ever do this with your kids or with your animals, right? How many of you have, pets, dogs, like you train them and they're so good, and then they don't have to be in the crate anymore, and then they don't have to have boundaries anymore, and then you start letting them up on the furniture, and then all of a sudden they're destroying your house. It's kind of like your kids too, right? You have, toddlers or teenagers or whatever it looks like, and it's like, like they're following the rules, they're sleeping really well, and then all of a sudden you start to slack on discipline or social media or different things, and all of a sudden they're off the rails. So human beings, animals, people need boundaries, and you need to really stick to them on a regular basis. Otherwise, we all have this capability of going off the rails, right? Falling off the old proverbial horse or wagon and splitting our head open. All right. We don't want any of that. So when we look to things like food addictions, if you ever watch the show, My 600 Pounds Life, holy crap, I watch it because I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to learn how somebody can honestly, literally eat themselves to death and find so much pleasure in their food, and that how the people they love can enable them and bring them all of that food, and literally provide the drug that's killing them. And then they reach out, to try to get help. And then this Dr. Nazarian, is like one of the only people in the entire country who's willing to help them, get them, down to a healthier weight so they can do weight loss surgery, and then hopefully, help them to build some healthy habits so that they can really lead a completely different life. And ultimately, the effort involves therapy. So my goal with all of my clients, and it's like with anything else I do, you know, people come to me and they're like, well, I can't eat gluten, or I can't eat dairy, or da, 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 or I heard this, or I can't do that. And I'm like, wait a minute. First off, we're not putting the finger on one food, you know, like, so it's not like bad gluten, bad dairy, bad beans, whatever. We're putting certain things on a pedestal, right? Like, this food is the best food ever. Okay, there's foods that are excellent foods, but you know, there's not one particular food. It's kind of the whole composition of your meals and snacks and your whole day and your week and your month and your year and your lifetime that, you know, successfully can promote or harm your health. And so, you know, with Mama G's lifestyle, like I try to go back to the basics with people and get them to eat everything. We do have some restrictions we talk about, you know, sugary beverages, soda pop really needs to not be part of your life. Sweet tea, different things. I've got some clients in the Midwest. It's like those things need to not be part of your life. Juices, even if they're all fruit juice, really not to be part of your life because we're missing out on fiber. We're missing out on some nutrition. We're filling up, taking away our calories from foods that are very limiting in their health benefits and highly caloric. So, you know, I do have some restrictions. I have a no soda pop rule. I guess I'm going to add just a no sugary beverage rule. I'm going to add, you know, we've got in there the non-nutritive sweeteners because there's honestly, it drives your sweet factor. There's potential for destruction of the microbiome, which we so want to improve. We know there's some dysfunction between the gut and the brain axis. So really want those non-nutritious sweeteners out of your life, period. And then the other one I talk about is, you know, getting rid of the ultra processed foods, these things that are in packages that can last for 10 years on the shelf that you can buy at convenience stores. We want to try to eat food that are as close to nature as possible within reason there. So my goal is with our clients, right, to kind of set up a few restrictions and then give them a lot of tools and a lot of open kind of boundaries to, you know, play with food and really enjoy food and find fellowship with our food. And most of the time it works. Most of the time we're really successful because we're providing them satiety within a meal. Like these meals are very satisfying on all aspects, not in terms of how they feel like just the right amount of full, but they tasted really great. They have great mouthfeel because we might have some crunch and different healthy fats in there that make things taste really good. It provides them with satiation between meals and snacks, so they're not like scouring, you know, closets for food. And then, of course, we're always going to pick crappy, easy access foods, you know, especially highly crappy, highly fat, you know, highly processed carbohydrates and high fat foods, high sugar foods are just so easy to grab. And then we also see that it helps to promote a stable blood sugar. When we combine fiber and fat and protein together with wholesome foods, we don't see sugar spikes. We see people are better able to control their cravings, have more self-control in that. So then when we take away alcohol sometimes we'll leave the alcohol aside. So the point being is that within the Mama G lifestyle, when we can, you know, choose more wholesome foods and have a game plan and try to get in certain number of meals and snacks, that we just have so much more self-control that kind of those tendencies for salty or sugar or sweet or whatever it might look like in your life kind of go away. And it's really nice. And some people have to be careful. Some people, you know, will tell you like sugar's like crack for them. So there's one particular client I was talking to who, again, is back in Mama G's, is almost 2 months in, again, has made goal in 7 weeks. And now, you know, now he's starting to be a little more lenient, adding in a little bit of alcohol on the weekend, adding in some desserts. And, you know, the goal is right now homeostasis. And the question is, can we remain in homeostasis? Can we set up some boundaries, you know, perhaps, you know, only going to have 1 or 2 alcoholic drinks on a Saturday or a Sunday night, right? Instead of like any night, or Friday, Saturday, Sunday night. Maybe, you know, choosing one night of the week to have a formal dessert, right? And maybe if they're going out to dinner or having a family meal or having a family special event, having the cookies or whatever might have been made for that. So kind of, setting up some parameters so that you don't feel like, well, I'm at homeostasis, I reached my goal, like have at it, because ultimately that energy balance is going to shift again, right? So homeostasis is where we're kind of consuming the right amount of calories with the right amount of physical activity and resting metabolic rate to stay stable, right? And when we're looking to, make a change, try to, either increase muscle mass or decrease body fat or combinations of those things, we've got to start to see an energy deficit or an energy overload, right? Or just a little of this or a little of that. And that's where all of these little details matter. So really trying to find that sweet spot for how you can incorporate some of these splurges and treats that potentially shift you over into the aspect of maybe you've got some issues with addiction. And so this particular client had talked about that sugar is one of those areas for him that are problematic. And he was telling me a story. Sorry, I'm dying of thirst today. Where he had gone to, I think, physical therapy or something like that. I don't know about you, but like sometimes you walk in the doctor's offices or different places and they have the bowl of candy, right? And now it's usually not anything exciting. Like if it was something exciting, maybe I would consider having, but I will tell you that 100% of the time, I never indulge for two reasons. Number one piece of it's only going to kind of stir feelings within me to, like, oh, if I can have one, maybe I'll have another, right? Because I never ever got that feeling like one Hershey's Kiss was enough for me. Two is it's the middle of the week. It's nothing special. It's not a special item, right? So why would I want to partake? Like if it's something really special, right? That it could only get, at a very special occasion, or you were at a special place, or it was a special holiday, or Aunt so-and-so was making something, I'm probably going to indulge. But an everyday, normal, Monday through Friday bowl of candy that's sitting there that I can buy at any point in time, whenever I feel like it, I'm going to tell you right now, you should consider not having it. So this individual had one, and it happened to be a Hershey's Kiss. And it was following his therapy. And he said, like, that was it. Like that moment, he then drove to a convenience store and bought what amounted to 3 full-size candy bars and ate them right then and there. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that just happened. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, we were like almost 8 weeks in. You've been so successful. You're feeling so proud of yourself. You're feeling good. You're getting your blood work done in another month because, with these couple of, this half a year that he kind of went off the wagon, all of his numbers went up to pre-diabetic again and high cholesterol and all these things. And we were doing so well and we felt really successful and we were setting up some parameters so that he felt like he could splurge and treat himself. And I'm thinking, holy crap, how did you do that? And he says, no. This was in the midst of it. This was in December. It was the holidays. And I'm like, no big deal. I'm already blowing it. Let me just keep blowing it. And this is where Mama G has to rely on other people in her life, her therapist, her clients who have addictions, right? Not only with maybe sugar, maybe with other type of foods, maybe you are sober, maybe you used to have a drug addiction, whatever that might have looked like for you. Like this is where we have to work together to figure out how we keep those things quelled. And I know that this particular client said to me, it's so different than, an alcoholic who can't drink. Well, they could drink if they chose to, but they've made a decision not to drink, right? For a multitude of reasons. But I do understand like food is part of your life, but crappy food doesn't have to be part of your life. You actually can make a decision to never again eat crappy food. But I don't want you to like make that hard stop. I'd rather you be more selective. I'd rather you, like this weekend at family dinner, it was Samantha B's birthday. She said, I want to make homemade donuts. And I said, not really feeling it. Number one, there's not a lot of time on Sunday that I have to spare. I said, what else would you like? She's like, oh, I want cupcakes. So asked my daughter to make some cupcakes, only asked her to make a dozen of them. We didn't need a ton. We only had, I think, 8, 9, 10 of us for dinner. I wasn't going to have one, want a few extra, whatever. So Mary made cupcakes. Samantha B loves white cupcakes, and Mary made a beautiful homemade recipe, just a small batch, homemade frosting. Everybody loved it. But what I took into consideration Samantha B's for a donut, because she'll love a good donut every once in a while. And I said, I'm going to bring back a little homage to my grandma Christina, my mom's mom, who used to make us donuts. Now, this was at the start of the highly processed foods. So we would actually use the roll of like Pillsbury biscuits. So guess what? I bought a roll of Pillsbury biscuits, and then I got little Logan, 2-year-old, in the learning tower, and I gave her a biscuit and practiced with some chopping and cutting and rolling and all of that. And then I took the rest of them and I heated up some canola oil, and I made a little hole in the Pillsbury biscuit and made them look like donuts. And then I fried them. Yep, Mama G fried them. And then, like my grandma used to do, we dipped them in cinnamon and sugar, and then I dipped some in powdered sugar. And I'll tell you what, the 9 of them that were left out of that package disappeared. Samantha B loved to have a bite or two of both of those. Logan had a bite or two. Everybody had a little bit because they were gone. I never had any of them. Had no interest in it. But that was it. That was the end of that. We had a little homage to Grandma Christina. Samantha B got a little bit of a, more homemade donut, and it was wonderful. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun, and it was just something else to kind of experiment with. So this is where, we contemplate on what that looks like. The weekend before we celebrated my sister's 70th birthday, and had a little homage to our Italian tradition. So I made homemade cannoli, which is where you take the cannoli shells and you stuff them with a ricotta cheese with a little sweetener, so sugar, with some chocolate chips in there. A little secret that we do to trick people is in one of the cannoli, we stuff cotton ball inside of it. And so my nephew's wife got the cotton ball. It was super fun. And that was a special treat. And then that was the end of that. What else did we do? We also made, she wanted lava cake. So I made lava cakes are typically made individual. So I went online and Googled lava cake for a group and made a super fun lava cake, and everybody enjoyed it. Even Mama G had a little bit of it. And that was the end of it. It was a special occasion. We got to enjoy a treat and a splurge. And it was accompanied with a beautiful, wholesome, beautiful, healthy, delicious, what other words can I use? Dinner, and a lot of wonderful fellowship. So this is where we have to figure out some parameters and boundaries. I hear a lot of people say to me, well, I'm on vacation, so, I never get to try this stuff. Well, that's fine. When we go to Italy, I have a couple gelatos when I'm there. When we go to Italy, most nights I'm going to have a glass of a beautiful Italian wine with my dinner. But every day is accompanied by calculated exercise, all right, or some kind of really active activity where we're, burning some calories to kind of counter that, right? So there's a thought process. It isn't going in, like being on a cruise and, eating brunch and lunch and dinner and food 24 hours a day and indulging in alcohol and desserts and all of these things. And then at the end of your trip, you come back, 10, 20 pounds or 5, 10 pounds heavier and incredibly uncomfortable in your own skin, and potentially raising markers that, are driving your health in the wrong direction. So this is where we have to be able to establish boundaries and find, the fact is in Italy or wherever I'm traveling, and I'm doing a lot of travel this year, I can find beautiful, wholesome choices with a little bit of work and effort anywhere I go. And then have an occasional splurge or treat. And that's the key here of being able to remain at homeostasis or reach goal or, improve your health or improve your physique or whatever is driving you, and build these healthy habits that can last a lifetime. So regardless of what your addiction looks like, let Mama G hold your hand. And then what I was going to also say is, especially like these 600-pound life, or those of you who, might have had dealt with addictions with narcotics or alcohol or food or different things, is you're probably going to need other experts along with Mama G, right? Like, there's Narcotics Anonymous, there's Alcoholics Anonymous. These are really wonderful groups that help people deal with their addictions. I'm a huge fan of working with therapists on my 600-pound life. I don't know why they do it when they do it, and maybe it's just part of the show, but a lot of these times these people have to lose a considerable amount of weight before they are actually candidates for gastric bypass surgery, because they're so morbidly obese and the risk of surgery is so problematic. So they've got to find some self-control, and he puts them on a very strict, high protein, low calorie diet. And eventually most of them, at least we see on the show, like do it. And then they have the gastric bypass, and now they're only able to eat little bits of food, but a lot of them will eat through it. And oftentimes, if they're not successful getting down to that weight so they can have surgery, or they're running into problems once they've had the surgery, he ships them off to therapy. And I really think that therapy needs to be part of the mix. Like sometimes, we who are helping with the gain of self-control and providing more wholesome lifestyle approaches can't do it alone. And a lot of times you've got to delve into your background and delve into some of the traumas that might be directing how you utilize food as reward and pleasure and punishment, and different ways that they manifest themselves in us human, very vulnerable human beings. I wanted to move on and talk a little bit about respect. And this is where I did mention it in the last Monday or the Monday before, where people, they might go to a family or relative's house for dinner or, something, and then they feel like they have to eat the food. Like, well, they said, here, they made this special dessert for me, and now I need to consume it. And this is where, I said to them, number one, you've got to advocate for yourself. If you are, working a plan and you're really trying to not indulge in certain things and really stay on track and establish your boundaries with how you're going to improve your health, then guess what? You have to be able to say no, and you have to be able to say no in a respectful way. But you could also say in that a respectful way to be respectful to yourself. Thank you so much for offering me this beautiful special dessert, but I'm working really hard to improve my health. Now, you don't have to go any more than that. If you're going to be in a scenario where, the individual or the family or the group you're going to is not going to provide a more wholesome meal, or you don't feel comfortable in asking them what they're going to be providing, then guess what? You let them know that you're going to bring a dish to share. And this is where, with the help of Mama G, we can come up with some beautiful, delicious, wonderful, item to bring that can incorporate all aspects of a healthy plate, so that if there's nothing else that you see, adequate to, partake in, you have your one pot, dish that you now can partake in, and everybody else can enjoy it too. And you can share the recipe, and you can share about Mama G, and hence we can do some really great work together. But this is when you have to advocate that you don't just feel guilty, that you got to have that cupcake because that person made it for you. I'm sorry. Your health remains above all else, and you need to be able to communicate that to people to make sure that you're not sabotaging yourself. The other respect issue is, I had a client just today, I think, had said they had gone out to dinner and that she finds it really hard to choose something on the menu, and that she feels bad about asking them to change how she's ordering. Hold on. You're going to a restaurant. Guess what? The customer is always right. Did you forget that? That's the way it works. And so you should be able to look at that whole menu and be able to decipher, okay, I'm going to choose an entree that has a beautiful piece of fish. They have some beautiful sauteed vegetables, but it comes with mashed potatoes. But you also look like on the sides and you see that you can get a baked potato or a sweet potato, or maybe they have some quinoa or some brown rice. Guess what you get to say? Do you mind, can I, or I would like to, would be even better, substitute something that they have on the menu. It's not like you're asking them to go out and find something for you somewhere else. No, we're just taking what they have on the menu and putting it into your meal. And that is something that you have every right to ask for, number one. If you get a server who's confused or doesn't know or isn't sure how something's cooked, and you then ask for the manager, better yet, ask for the chef. Guess what? We chefs actually want to please our customers. And if we ever have an opportunity to customize a meal for somebody, we want to do it. Number one, we want to please the customer. Number two, we want that customer to come back. Number three, we want that customer to tell other people to come back. That's how we drive continuing to have a good business. And so you have every right to dictate how that food will look for you. And, worst comes to worst, if you need to order extra sides, do it, share with other people, and let's make sure that you ultimately get the food that you want to fit your healthy plate or fit your goals or whatever's happening for you, instead of you just saying, well, they only had twice baked potatoes, so I just ate it. Okay, it's a choice. And it's probably the reason that you sit in the situation you're sitting in, not happy with where your weight is, not happy with how you think about yourself aesthetically, not happy with how you're looking under the hood. And this is where you've got to find a voice, and you've got to start advocating for yourself. And we're not telling you not to eat food that's not nutritious and delicious, but we're telling you that you've got to use a voice, and you got to use somebody like Mama G to hold your hand when you're in those situations, so she can help you learn how to make more wholesome choices, right? Practice makes perfect. Had another client, just came off a vacation, didn't hear from her on the vacation at all, which is great. Have a good time, enjoy your vacation. We had kind of strategized how the vacation would look. I think they had a kitchenette and some different things. We kind of talked about what the strategy would be, how to incorporate some exercise, what that might be for her. But now today we came back, and then she let me know that, she feels like she's totally off the rails and that she needs to reset. She's like, how do I do that? And I'm like, you go back to your lifestyle within the Mama G lifestyle, right? So if you were looking to remain homeostasis, we go right back to it. If we were on a goal to do this or that or make some changes, you go right back to it. We go back to the lifestyle plan within the Mama G that you've been working. Everything remains the same. So guess what? Tomorrow morning, we go back to picking one of your beautiful, wholesome Mama G type recipes. Snack time comes, you go back. So we're not going to be punitive. We're not going to punish you. Whatever, gain a few pounds over the last week, or you didn't eat healthfully, or you don't feel good because of how you eat, or any combination of those things. We go right back to the plan. We go right back to our consistent exercise. We go right back to our wholesome eating. And guess what happens? Then we start to see, the ramifications of these healthy behaviors play out, right? And so that will bring me to the scale. So Mondays is a typical weigh-in day for the majority of Mama G clients. I get, graphs coming to me, and I always, will say to that client when they send me their graph, how was your week? And, sometimes they'll say, well, I sent you my graph. It's like, no, I'm not gonna tell you how that graph made me feel. I want to know how that graph made you feel. And, so I had a client who had a graph that looked appropriate to her goals. And so I asked her how her week was, and she said, great. I was more active than I normally am. I feel like I was ate more wholesome food than I normally do. And the scale reflected it. How nice was that? Have another new client that's kind of rehabbing from a surgery, just kind of getting back into some more consistent exercise. Just started with Mama G. There was some travel involved. I think there might have been a birthday involved. And so for her, the scale showed homeostasis, even though that's not really her goal right now. The goal is to have a little bit of a shift in that scale. But guess what? she actually said to me that she felt like it was a little bit of a win. And I can't tell you how big of a win maintenance is. Maintenance is a huge, considering that the majority of people are constantly adding to the scale. You know, we have this obesity epidemic. Nobody's able to maintain their weight. Like maintenance, pat yourself on the back, shoulder, and understand like homeostasis, maintaining your weight is a good thing. You know, like you have to be really consistent and really put your head down and to really start to see the shift if you're trying to lose weight. Or for my clients who are trying to gain weight, it's the same thing, man. You got to be really consistent with the game plan that we've kind of customized to you. But, you know, the scale cannot dictate your mood. You know, whether it's a mood, yay, look how good I did, or, oh, I didn't do bad, or, geez, I wanted more change. Cut it out. The scale is one parameter, all right? This is where we have lots of parameters. I tell all of my clients when we start, I'd love you to take pictures of yourself in a bikini or a swim trunks or exercise wear gear that are tied, or take pictures of clothes that you can't, snap or a button or whatever, or maybe you're a guy and you want to bust out of your sleeves. I don't care what you're taking a picture of. Take some pictures, take some measurements, so we can have some parameters so that when the scale's not seeing differences, that you can start to say to me, man, you know what, I improved my, strength, or geez, like I went to put on these jeans and like I could button them, no problem. There's so many things that, can help you to see your success that we've got to look at all of them, not just one thing. And the scale is just one metric that helps us kind of understand what we're doing with our energy balance. Of course, we can look at the whole big picture with that, but 1 week does not make your whole lifetime of health. And one step on the scale should not dictate your mood, good or bad. All right. It should be how you're treating your body and the self-respect that you give it on a regular basis. And that it's not about all or none. I cannot communicate to you that I've got clients who they're all in or have completely fallen off the wagon. It's like, we gotta find a happy medium, especially as we get older. The ramifications of treating your body disrespectfully with foods that cause harm, overeating calories, not getting consistent exercise. Like we can turn all these things around, but the thing is, can we keep them going in the right direction? And the answer is absolutely not, until you build some willpower and self-esteem and healthy habits and enjoy the process. I love every single morsel I put in my mouth. Today was a perfect example. I got up, had my beautiful European breakfast, as always, went off to a client's house, cooked with her kids for a couple hours, which was really a lot of fun. I forgot my wallet at home. Oh, all I had was my phone with my Apple Pay, and I thought, perfect. There's a flame broiler. I think they take Apple Pay. I get in there, no Apple Pay. I go online. I look at vendors that take Apple Pay, and nothing was in the vicinity that I was near because I had another appointment to get to. And now it was like, holy crap, no food for Mama G. It's lunchtime. What am I going to do? Well, I always keep some type of dairy/calcium in my shelf-stable beverage in my car now. I had low-fat milk and I had my pea beverage in there. And then I'm scrounging literally through boxes and tubs, and I found one Kind bar. Now I tell you, Kind bars are not something that I endorse or eat, because the second ingredient on there, while they say they're simple ingredients, it's nuts and fruit, but there's also syrups in there, which I really don't need as part of my daily life. I'd rather eat food closer to nature. But the point being, that was it. And so guess what? I had a Kind bar and I had one of my low-fat milks, and that got me through the next 3 hours before I got home, where I got to have leftover pizza at 3:45 in the afternoon. So I just simply swapped my snack and my lunch, but I was successful. And now for dinner, I'm going to make the same thing that I cooked with these kids today, which is the chicken pot pie soup, which looks so delicious. And I've got everything portioned out downstairs. I'm going to go chop it all up and get it going. And I can't wait to eat it tonight. So we got to be flexible. You got to have the right tools. And guess what? Mama G gives you the tools. We got so many tools now. Just met with a new client, and I just filled not all of these are multiple copies of things, but I got so many tools to help you be successful. Everybody has a little red folder with all these little tools in it, but guess what? You actually have to open it up. You actually have to work with Mama G with tech support. You actually have to sit down for a session or have a virtual session. Like together, we can rock this thing. Together, we can, drive your health, give you the opportunity to live a long, healthy, independent life. Of late, I've had some young clients in their 20s, and I love it. I always tell them every time, pat yourself on the back. You are shifting the course of your life now, before you even have a family of your own, before you start to look under the hood and go, holy crap, like what a wonderful time to gain control of your health when you're young. Oh, I love it. I just love it. So, and the last thing I'm going to say, then I'm going to cut out early. So if you have any questions or comments, put them in the chat bar now so I can get to you. But the last thing I'm going to say is I had a client that, I have two more things. Let me just write this down here so I don't forget. There it is right there. I had a client ask about, do we shift our calorie intake when we shift our exercise intake? So here's what I'm going to say to you. For the majority of my clients out there, you're going to be eating pretty consistently every single day of the week and, consistently exercising, right? So some days you might have 1 or 2 days off. I hope you do. But, we kind of make up for the shift in your food and your calories through the course of the week, not just in that day or within that meal or workout. So for the majority of my clients, there's no adjusting calories. A whole different basis if you're somebody who is exercising for 2 workouts a day, or who's training for a marathon or a Spartan race or a particular activity, or I've got some college athletes that train for several hours a day. It's a whole nother ball game. And yes, on those days, we're thinking about making sure they're getting fuel before. A lot of times it's just their meal or snack, right? We're thinking about hydration and fuel during, especially if you're exercising 1.5, 2+ hours at a time. We've got to get hydration and fuel within that workout. We're thinking about some post workout meals, but again, for a lot of them, it's just built into their meals and snacks on those particular days. And then on those days when they're not training like that, then they might just drop 2 snacks out of there. So again, depending on your situation, that's where you work with Mama G to hold your hand to decipher if you need more calories in your day on particular days. But for the most part, for the general population, we want to try to eat consistently every day of the week through your meals and snacks and get your consistent exercise, period. So I hope that's helpful, but you know how you can get me. And then the last thing, which I'm not going to talk too much about because I think that will do a little bit of education, especially on the concept of food bullying. I think that's probably backwards. So it doesn't say doof, and I didn't say that. It says food bullying. And somebody asked me about what do I think about dairy in particular, products that have gums and emulsifiers and natural flavors in them. So number one, we read labels. So anytime we can get something that doesn't have ingredients that we really aren't sure what they are, get it, right? So it's all about label reading, and it's about finding products that fit your needs and your goals. So there are lots of dairy products that just have milk and live cultures and different things like that. So if you need help with finding those at your markets, let me know on that. But we also will get into it, not tonight, but in the future, about a lot of these things are stabilizers, right? A lot of these things are preservatives, so to help keep things from spoiling, to help keep us safe, right? So that's really important. They might add some consistency or thickness to a particular food, beverage, that kind of thing. And natural flavors is kind of a funny one as well, but depending on when we're looking at savory natural flavors as opposed to something that's more on the sweet side of it. So we have to be a little bit speculative. We've got to be a little bit critical thinking, and we've got to understand that We don't have to get too nuts with it. There's a lot of fear mongering out there. Oh, you shouldn't eat this. Organic is the only way to go. No conventional or this, that, or the thing. And you don't want guar gum in your nut milks. Well, guar gum is a thickener. There's nothing inherently wrong with it, but you get a lot of people spewing a lot of bad information and doing some bullying. So I'm glad the question was asked. Mama G will delve into that. We'll probably deal with that next week and be able to more answer those questions in detail for you. But step one, when you're picking your food out there, read labels and try to pick food products that are processed somewhat with ingredients that you know what they are. And when you don't know, ask about them, because Mama G is here to hold your hand, help you to become your own advocate, so together we can live that long, healthy, independent life. Okay, I'm gonna go cook some dinner. You know what Mama G always says? It is not about what you lose, folks. It is all about what you gain. Have a beautiful evening.